Friends, in today's video, we are going to share a remarkable and heartfelt story about a mother and her son's journey to perform Hajj and the extraordinary events that unfolded along the way. This story begins in a modest city where a devoted mother and her beloved son, Abdullah, lived together. Abdullah's mother was known for her exemplary character and gentle spirit. Even though she never openly expressed it, Abdullah had long known that his mother harbored one great wish deep in her heart. When he was very young, he would listen intently as she softly promised, "My dear Abdullah, one day you will take me on Hajj." She would say that once he grew up, became independent, and could stand firmly on his own feet to support her, then he would fulfill her lifelong dream. As time went by, Abdullah matured and began working. However, his job did not pay very well, and financial challenges soon overshadowed their humble life. Aware of their difficulties, his mother eventually stopped reminding him of her desire so as not to burden him further. Even though her dream remained unspoken, Abdullah never forgot it. Deep within, he made a solemn promise to himself that one day he would gather enough resources to make her wish come true, no matter what obstacles lay ahead. For many long years, Abdullah saved every penny he could. He led a frugal life, avoiding unnecessary expenses, while his mother too practiced thrift and contentment. She quietly made do with whatever little they had, taking joy in the knowledge that her son respected and cared for her in every way. In her eyes, Abdullah was not just a source of support, but also her greatest pride. Though she often encouraged him to marry and settle down, he always declined. Not that he did not want companionship, but he was acutely aware that marriage would multiply his financial responsibilities. Abdullah knew that once married, the cost of maintaining a household, caring for a wife and eventually raising children, would quickly deplete the money he had painstakingly saved for her Hajj. With each passing day, the dream of performing Hajj with his mother remained both a beacon of hope and a heavy burden on his heart. Then one auspicious day, after years of sacrifice and hard work, Abdullah finally managed to save enough money to visit the house of Allah. His heart leapt with joy at the thought of fulfilling his mother's wish, and he eagerly withdrew all his savings from the bank. With his spirits soaring, he set off for home, imagining the radiant smile on his mother's face when she learned that her dream was within reach. He was filled with excitement at the idea that her long-held wish was finally about to be realized by her loving son. But fate had another test waiting for him. Not far from his home, as he walked along a familiar street, a dear friend suddenly intercepted him. This friend was in tears, his eyes red and his voice trembling with despair. "Abdullah, please help me," he cried urgently. "My son has fallen from the second floor, and he has sustained a severe head injury. He is still unconscious, and the doctors say he urgently needs an operation, a very expensive one. Until we can raise the funds, they cannot start the surgery." The friend's words were laden with raw emotion and desperation as he pleaded, "For God's sake, help me. He is my only child, my entire world, and without prompt help, I fear I will lose him." Hearing his friend's anguished plea, Abdullah felt his heart shatter. In that agonizing moment, he found himself torn between two competing urgencies. On one side was his mother's unfulfilled dream of performing Hajj, a promise he had cherished for so long. And on the other was the life of his friend's son, who now hung in the balance. He had devoted years of his life to saving money for his mother's journey, and now that hard-earned sum was needed for an entirely different purpose. The internal conflict left him distraught and uncertain about which path to follow. Amid the turmoil, a memory of his mother's gentle counsel came flooding back. She had once told him, "Abdullah, when someone comes to you in need, do not ever hesitate to help. Allah loves those who extend their hand to others, and He will multiply your generosity many times over. Your good deeds will never go unrewarded." These words, spoken with warmth and wisdom, resonated deeply within him. After a long, painful moment of contemplation, Abdullah made a heart-wrenching decision. He decided that saving a precious life was more important than fulfilling his own dream. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, he withdrew the money he had so diligently set aside for his mother's Hajj and gave it to his friend. Grateful beyond measure, the friend embraced Abdullah and hurried off toward the hospital with the funds in hand. Abdullah, on the other hand, slowly made his way home, his emotions a mix of sorrow, regret, and relief. He felt the sting of sacrifice and the bitter taste of unmet promises. When his mother later inquired about his troubled state, he could not bring himself to reveal the truth. Instead, after performing the Isha prayer that night, he secluded himself and wept bitterly in supplication before Allah. In his anguish, he cried out, "O Allah, you know the state of my heart. I long to take my dear mother on Hajj, but now I am empty-handed. I do not know how much time we have left together, or if I will ever be able to save enough again to fulfill her wish. I have dedicated so many years to saving this money, and now I feel utterly powerless. O Lord, grant my mother patience, and, if she is not destined to perform Hajj in this life, bestow upon her the reward of Hajj in the next. Her heart is so pure, she deserves every blessing." In that moment of deep prostration, his pleas echoed in the quiet night, and he surrendered his sorrows to Allah. The next morning, when Abdullah arrived at his modest workplace, he was greeted by the same friend who had once been overwhelmed with grief. The friend embraced him warmly and said, "My brother, how can I ever thank you? Because of your selfless act, my son's life has been saved." Modestly, Abdullah replied, "It is not by my strength, but by Allah's grace that his life was spared." Then, with a gentle smile, the friend added, "Today there is a reason for celebration. Our kind boss holds an annual Hajj lottery at the office, and this year, by Allah's will, both your name and mine were drawn. 2 fortunate employees are sent on Hajj at the company's expense, yet I see sorrow in your eyes. Why do you seem troubled when you should be rejoicing at the prospect of visiting Allah's house?" Abdullah, with a heavy heart, recounted the entire ordeal to his friend. Listening intently, his friend's face softened with understanding. Then he said, "Today, let me repay your kindness. Instead of you bearing the burden alone, take your dear mother with you on Hajj in my place." Overjoyed by this unexpected act of generosity, Abdullah embraced his friend tightly, feeling gratitude and relief flood his heart. Before long, the blessed day arrived when Abdullah and his mother set out together on the sacred journey of Hajj. During the pilgrimage, their bond grew ever stronger as they performed the rituals side by side. Along the way, they encountered fellow pilgrims whose hearts were touched by the tender care Abdullah showed for his mother. Observers noted how he would personally help her with every step, serve her food with loving hands, and ensure she was treated with the utmost respect. So moved were they by his devotion that one family, struck by his compassion, proposed a marriage alliance for Abdullah with their daughter. By the gracious will of Allah, the day came when Abdullah's wedding was celebrated in the holy city of Medina at the Blessed Prophet's Mosque. Dear friends, this moving account teaches us that the bonds of humanity are the greatest of all. When you reach out to help someone in need, when you serve a person in distress, Allah rewards you in ways beyond measure. Such acts of kindness not only uplift those around you, but also open the door to unexpected blessings and lifelong rewards. If ever you find yourself confronted with a moment when someone's suffering calls for assistance, do not hesitate to offer your help wholeheartedly, with sincerity and selfless devotion. For the best of rewards comes solely from Allah, the most generous. May Allah grant us all the honor of performing Hajj and Umrah, and may He guide our hearts to serve humanity with compassion, love, and unwavering faith. Ameen.